Hi, welcome back to DIY Relationship Repair. Let's talk about why we do things. When you understand human behavior, you understand why people say the things that they say and do the things that they do. And when you understand intentions, it takes a lot of the tension out of the relationship, right?
Yeah, good tip.
Yeah, so let's get right into it. We're going to talk about human need psychology, and there are 6 human needs that every single human on earth has, no matter whether you're young or old, who you are, where you live.
Right.
Every human needs these same 6 human needs. So let's go over what they are really quickly. So it's for security, freedom,
Love.
love, recognition,
Adventure.
adventure, and spirit.
Nice.
So you will find a way to meet these needs, good or bad, positive or negatively. And when you learn to meet your partner's needs on a really high level, it divorce proofs your relationship. Seriously,
Yep.
divorce proof your relationship. Because if you're meeting all of your partner's needs, they love you,
Right.
they want to be with you, right?
Yeah, it's kind of hard for someone to hate you when you're doing everything that they expect and that they appreciate.
Yeah, and that makes them happy, right? Exactly. So now, before you go, why do I have to meet all of his needs? Or why do I have to meet all of her needs? Well, it works like this. If you meet your partner's needs on a high level, they are so happy that they're going to do the same in return.
Right. It really is true. You give what you want to receive. If you're giving your partner
Exactly.
everything that they need, they're in turn going to give you everything that you are expecting.
Now there are some exceptions. It's very very rare, and no, I shouldn't say that. I've seen one exception in my own practice, one ever. The majority of the time, if you have chosen well, you have chosen a partner who wants to make you happy.
Right.
And so, yeah, there are those rare occasions where you're married to a sociopath and you need to get out of that relationship, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about people who are married to somebody that is probably just doesn't know how to make you happy, to be
Yeah.
honest. And you probably at this point are asking yourself, well, how do I make him or her happy too? I just don't know. So,
And I think the reality for a lot of couples is that you get to a point in your relationship where you're not giving anything to your relationship, and then you want to complain about why or seem confused why it's not working, but you haven't given anything to the relationship.
that's
Just
right.
like anything else, if you're not giving to it, if you're not feeding it, it's going to starve and die.
Right. And so it's counterintuitive, I know, because when a relationship is on the rocks, you're thinking about me, 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 but what do I get? What is he doing for me? This works if you apply it.
Yeah.
So let's get into how to meet these human needs, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, great. So let's start with security. So security is safety and comfort and knowing that you feel secure in your relationship. Freedom is emotional freedom. It's being able to be exactly who you are and the other person accepts you completely. And then, of course, love. Love is exactly what it sounds like. It's
Yeah.
that romance, closeness, feelings of love for other
Affection.
people. Affection, right.
Yep.
And then we have recognition. Every single person on earth needs to feel important. They need to be praised. They need to feel wanted and appreciated. And then every person also needs some level of adventure. That's excitement, playfulness
Now,
in
does
your
that mean
relationship.
skydiving every weekend?
For some people, yes, but for some people, no, absolutely. For some people, adventure is just taking a walk outside. That's enough adventure for the whole day.
Right.
So everyone has different levels,
It varies.
but everybody needs some level of adventure and excitement. And then the last one is for spirit.
Right.
And spirit is becoming self aware, it's volunteering, reading, doing all of those things, learning more about yourself. Everyone needs that. So, those are your 6 human needs: security, freedom, love, recognition, adventure, and spirit. So, those are what they are. Now, let's talk about how people meet them in negative ways so that they can start to recognize some behaviors in their own relationship.
Should
Does
we
that sound
step
good?
through each one, positive and negative, or
Yeah, let's do
negative
that.
and positive, and then um,
Let's do that.
Yeah,
That sounds
okay.
great. So let's start with security, because security is a big one. Now, again, every human needs all six of these, but when I see a lot of problems in a relationship, a lot of the time it's because of that security.
Sure.
So security in your relationship means that no matter what, I know, no matter what we're going through, I know my partner is not going to leave me.
Right. It's really about being like your rock, that rock. You're the
Exactly.
sturdy foundation. There's no threats of I'm leaving or I've had enough.
Exactly. Or people do that. They constantly, every time they get frustrated or have a fight, they're like, well, you want me to leave. And they storm out,
Right.
or they threaten to
Well, that's
leave.
it. I've had enough.
Right. And that really shakes the foundation of your relationship at a deep level, because it takes away the security. You have to make it safe enough for your partner to know that they can say mean and horrible things, because that happens sometimes, and know that you're still okay. You're
Yeah.
still there for one another, and you'll work it out.
So that's a better explanation or a more in-depth explanation of security.
Mhm.
And then how are people meeting that in a negative way usually?
Right. So in a negative way, to meet your need for security, that's where we get our control freaks from.
Right.
People will lie. People will lie or manipulate because they want to feel secure. So, like, if our relationship was shaky, I might lie to Thad because I'm afraid he's going to leave me, or I'm afraid
Right.
to lose him, or manipulate people. That's a lot of the stuff that I see.
Control and manipulation, I think, are two big ones where people are meeting that need for security. Because if you're not feeling secure, then you're going to take control of the situation, and you do that through manipulation, making it seem other than what it is.
Or
And-
checking phone records.
Right, checking
Going
phones.
through the other person's Facebook.
Right.
You're trying so desperately to have some security in your
Right.
relationship that you're using negative methods.
Yep.
Right? So that's how people meet their need for security in negative ways. So if you're dealing with somebody, a partner that's doing that, that's trying to control you all the time, that's lying, that's checking your phone records and stuff like that, that's because they probably have a very high level need for security.
Right.
And so, you can make your partner feel more secure. And again, there's different levels of this, but you can make your partner feel more secure in the relationship by, number one, never threatening to leave.
Yep.
By communicating. I know Thad and I, when I go anywhere, I always text him and say, hey, I got here safe. And then I text him and say, I'm leaving. He's never once required that of me.
Sure.
But we just do that because I want him to know, like, I'm okay. And I just like checking in with him, because then when I say I'm coming home, he says, yay, and a text message back, which makes me feel so loved and secure.
More
really.
about that later.
More on that later. Very good. So let's talk about freedom. Let's move on to freedom. So again, freedom is to be it's emotional freedom, to be who you are, to be fully accepted for who you are. People get into relationships all the time. I hear this all the time, and they say, oh, well, everything will be better if he just changed, if she just did this. Always trying to change the partner. That's where your fixers come in. Like, oh, I'm gonna get in this relationship, but I can fix him. And I know, because I did that.
So freedom, that's like, what is it? Kitchen pass, where you get one free night a month to go do whatever you want. And
Nope.
no questions asked.
Not it.
No, that's not it.
No, it's emotional freedom, to support one another, to be emotionally who you are, and to be accepted.
Right.
So we're going to talk more about the male and feminine energy and stuff like that later. But for example, Thad is a masculine man, but if he has an emotion or cried or anything like that, I would not beat him up for that. I would completely accept that,
Right.
because I love and care about him, and I want him to feel emotionally free in our relationship.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So people who have a high level need for freedom that it's not getting met, some of the ways they'll meet that in negative ways is by running away, by avoidance, by living in denial. Like, nope, everything's okay.
Yeah, or they push back, and so they are going out, they're sneaking around and doing those things that they feel are allowing them to be free, you know, is
Right.
right. And the funny thing about that is it's really just wrapping more and more chains around them when they're doing that.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let your partner know that whatever they want, whatever they feel, whoever they are is absolutely okay. Just share it together, right? Just
Yeah.
share it together. So that's freedom. Then we have love. Of course, love,
Oh.
right? Love is romance and closeness and nice times and kayaking. You know, we kayak and spending quality time together. But if that need isn't getting met on a high level, then a lot of people will turn to promiscuity or affairs or lying.
Right.
That, just so you know too, that these are not excuses for those bad choices or for the bad behavior. This is a way to understand it, because if you're in a relationship where your partner has had an affair, you can start to look at your own contribution to that. Now, yes, he or she went out and did that. That's on them.
Right.
It's not your fault, but you are responsible. You are responsible
Yeah,
for
and I
it.
think once you understand how all of us have these 6 human needs and how they present in a positive and a negative way, you start seeing those negative behaviors, and it just helps you understand where your partner is coming from.
Right.
And so I think by understanding both the positives and negatives, then you can really approach the situation differently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can meet your partner's need.
Right, and the best part is you can undo those negative behaviors, the way that they're presenting in a negative way.
That's right. And I've had clients who have come back from, affairs and things that could really destroy a relationship just from this one tool.
Right.
Just understanding human needs and understanding the role that they played. And again, it's not about fault. It's about taking responsibility and knowing, because every relationship, if it's 2 people, there's 2 people there.
Yeah.
And again, this is about normal people. Now, if you're married to a sociopath, which is very rare, it might be all his fault.
Right.
or her fault. But in general, we play a huge role in the relationship.
Yeah.
And so anyone who is going out and participating in affairs or lying or being promiscuous and things like that, they may not be getting a lot of feelings of love.
Right, and
that connection.
once you understand how they're meeting their needs in those negative ways, and then you start meeting those needs for them in positive ways, that's where the switch is flipped.
Exactly. So let's move on to.
I
did you have
should
something else?
rephrase that. It's not always as quick as flipping a switch. It's worth noting that you have to work at this. It's
Right.
Just like your relationship is started out really good and it's degraded over time, the same applies to repairing it.
But the switch is right though, because once you have this information, you can immediately apply it and start to see changes.
Yeah, you'll see change immediately.
Yeah,
There's no question about that.
Absolutely. Because if you're constantly, let's talk about recognition, because I think I have a
Okay.
good example for
Yeah.
that one. So for the next human need is for recognition. And that's, again, you feel wanted and needed and praised and appreciated. And then people who aren't getting that will turn to things like drama, addictions, attention seeking. The victims and the martyrs are people who really need a lot of recognition.
Yeah.
So were you going to say something?
I was just going to mention the Facebook post where,
Oh.
worst day ever.
Worst day ever. ... and nothing else.
Right.
And that's a cry to please, please, please comment and
Yeah.
ask me.
Or
at
the
the
hospital
hospital.
again.
At the hospital again. ...
Hope
Exactly.
the emergency room isn't busy.
And then they give you no information. That's somebody who is looking desperately for recognition.
Yep.
They're not bad people. This is not an excuse
No.
for their behavior. This is simply a way to understand whoever posts that is probably not feeling very appreciated,
Right.
needed, or wanted, right? And maybe
Yep.
they don't get a lot of praise. Now maybe they need tons of it. Maybe they are high maintenance,
Could be.
That's certainly possible. But yeah, it's just a way to understand. So in our relationship, if I'm not giving my husband recognition on some level, like for example, thank you so much for mowing the lawn, thank you for putting gas in my car for me because I hate to pump it, you're so awesome, thank you for all that you do, and just showing gratitude and appreciation for him,
Right.
it's very possible that he would go post on Facebook, mowed the lawn today, nobody cared, or whatever, right? I mean, not that he would ever do that, because I make sure that he knows
Right.
that I appreciate him.
Yeah, and just because it's not my highest need doesn't mean it's not important. So again, everyone has
Absolutely.
all 6 of these needs, and to some extent you have to meet all of those. The trick is finding out which ones are your partner's your primary needs.
Right, exactly. And, after you work with this information for a little bit, chew
It
on
gets
it,
pretty easy.
it becomes so obvious. Yeah, like you'll look at that Facebook post and you'll say, oh, Sally Sue has a really high need for recognition. Wow, you know what? Maybe I'll send her a private message and say, hey, I was just checking on you. Are you okay? And that way I know that she's going to feel really appreciated.
Right.
So again, it's a way, and by the way, we're talking specifically about romantic relationships in this series, but this stuff applies to everyone,
Every single
to your
relationship you have.
kids, to your coworkers, to your boss, to the neighbors,
Yeah,
right?
this really, I mean, when you understand human needs psychology in this manner, I mean, it simplifies everything that you've ever done as far as relationships go.
Exactly. Now, say for example, you have a boss that really, really needs a lot of recognition, and you go in and you say, "Hey, you look great today. Have you lost some weight? That jacket looks nice on you," or whatever. I mean, I'm not talking about lying. I'm talking about finding some positive that you
Right.
can say to them. Because they have a high level need for recognition, your boss is going to think you're the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And again, that's how it works. When you meet another person's needs on a high level, they're just going to love and adore you. So,
No doubt.
should we move on? Let's move on to adventure. Now, this is one of my absolute favorites because it's one of my highest needs for adventure. Right. So, adventure is exactly what it sounds like. It's excitement, it's spontaneity, it's playfulness, it's surprises and things like that. It's saying, hey, let me take you on a kayak trip today, which we did, and it was so fun, and I didn't expect it, and my husband kept pushing, let's go further, and initially I was like, no, my arms hurt, but then I gave in, and it was just awesome. Right.
So adventure doesn't have to be a week in the Mojave Desert. Doesn't have to be expensive.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of times the best way, if you have a partner who has a high need for adventure, it's really about spontaneity. So it's making just the littlest thing come out of nowhere and doing that and making it exciting.
Absolutely.
Could be a trip to the grocery store for that matter.
I know, we do that a lot, and that's just a fun event. When you have kids, sometimes the grocery store, just getting away together,
right,
is adventurous enough.
So you're thinking, the grocery store is just the grocery store, but
not when we go.
When you're riding carts through the aisles or tossing items up and over the dividers and
yeah, we make it completely ridiculous. But again, there's that playfulness, and we always do that in our relationship because it keeps it fresh, it keeps it fun. Yeah, absolutely. So how do people meet their need for adventure in negative ways?
So this is risky behavior. So this would be like always driving over the speed limit, and aggressive driving, I guess, is a good example of that. Or drinking and driving.
Risky behavior.
Very risky behavior.
I mean, it's okay to take a risk, but it's not okay to be risky.
Yeah.
So stunts, affairs, drama, all of that stuff, sexual deviation. Now, this is something that I find in my practice all of the time. A lot of, and it's not just women who come to me for this, but it is more women that I've seen personally. So women will come to me and say, my husband's looking at porn, my husband's doing things that she doesn't feel is okay. And so when we go through these needs, she's able to understand it a little better. And I've had men that have actually quit porn once they understood,
Right.
and once their women understood what their needs were, because they were able to meet their need for adventure sexually together,
Right.
rather than having to sneak and go look at porn or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't take a whole lot of variety to attract your partner in that way, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, and sex is a huge component, but we'll talk about that later.
Later.
So let's talk about the last need, which is for spirit. And again, spirit is becoming self-aware. It's giving back.
Mm-hmm.
It's your whatever your higher power is. It's learning more about yourself.
Yeah.
And the spirit really only accepts that what's positive.
Right.
So if it's negative, it's not spirit. If it's
Yeah.
negative, it's meeting a different need, but it's not filling your spirit, because your spirit can only accept the positive.
Right. So this really looks like volunteering.
Right. Volunteering together in a relationship, there is nothing more bonding than going out and serving and helping and having fun doing it. Right?
Yeah, those are some of my best memories when we're out
Absolutely.
doing things together.
And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be grueling. You don't have to go to a soup
Right.
kitchen and work for 12 hours. I mean, you could, like, we ring the Salvation Army bell.
Yeah.
We have gone to soup kitchens. We've served meals at churches. I mean, we've done so many things.
Yeah, the best thing about contribution for me is that it doesn't take anything except time. Time is like a universal currency. If you're giving your time, that's the same as someone else giving their time.
Right.
And so that, to me, is the hugest way that you can contribute. So you can throw money at anything, but until you're willing to give your time to something, it's not it doesn't show to me that it's important to you if you're not giving time.
Right. Yeah, and throwing money at things is great too.
Sure. Yeah, there are
We'd
things
love you
that
to
need
throw
that.
money at charities. That's wonderful as
Right.
well. Choose the charities together.
Absolutely.
Some people don't want to go out and volunteer, and although I recommend it to everybody, I don't think there's anyone that shouldn't. Maybe even if you don't want to, you could just sit down and choose some charities together.
Yeah.
Hey, let's send $10 to this charity and 10 to this one, and whatever. I
Right.
mean, just pick some things.
Yeah, another example for spirit is giving your thoughts or your prayers to other people. So that you're giving to others, whether it's your thought cycles or your money or your time, those are ways
Ooh.
to contribute.
Another good one, growing and reading and learning together.
Right.
So, like, every time, because I read so many books, every time I get an awesome book, I'll read through it, and I'm like, you've got to read this book.
I'm always on the
He's got a stack of them, let's put it that
like
way.
the secondhand book pile. I always
Yeah,
pull
he's
from
got
the
the
secondhand
secondhand.
books.
So, learning together is a wonderful way to fill your spirit,
Definitely.
both as a couple and individually. So, taking a class, doing something like this, watching this relationship video series together,
Right.
or watching it separately, but for your partner, for your relationship,
Right.
because when you contribute to your own spirit, you contribute to your relationship as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So again, let's just do a quick review. Security and freedom. Now, security and freedom are basic needs. Then we have love and recognition. And love and recognition are psychological needs. And then we have adventure and spirit, which are self-fulfillment needs. So if you meet your partner's needs, most of them, all of them, or even most of them, on a really high level, you will absolutely divorce-proof your relationship.
Yeah, there's no question.
Nobody has ever said, wow, my husband, he makes me feel so secure in our relationship. I know he'll never leave, and he accepts me exactly the way I am. I know he loves me, and he always praises me and tells me how great I am, takes me on these great adventures, and he wants to learn and read everything that I'm doing. What a jerk. Nobody does that.
Doesn't happen.
It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. So I would suggest that today, no matter where you are in your relationship, whether you just want to make, you guys are just getting a little stressed out or tension, because life happens, right? Start applying these things and it will change your relationship quickly. Now, if you're at the point where this is the last ditch effort, like the divorce papers are sitting on the desk and all we have to do is sign, I would say give yourself 30 days to start applying these. 30 days to meet your needs without thinking about what you're not getting.
Right.
30 days to meet your partner's needs on a really, really high level. And at the end of that 30 days, if your relationship isn't different, then move forward.
Yeah.
But if you really apply this stuff and meet your partner's needs, things will turn around.
Sure. So
Absolutely.
first of all, you have to understand the 6 human needs. We all have those, and
And
then
they're not good or bad.
Right.
People meet them in good and bad ways,
Right.
but none of the. If you have a high level need for security, that's fine.
Yep.
I have a high level need for adventure. That's fine. It doesn't matter what you put first.
Right. It's a matter of understanding your partner and what their more important needs are, and then help them meet those in a positive way.
That's right. And again, when people meet their needs in negative ways, this is not an excuse for bad behavior. It's a way to understand. And when you teach other people, even your partner, how to meet their needs, and especially kids, if you have kids, how to meet their needs in a really healthy and positive way, then they don't have to turn or resort to meeting their needs negatively.
Right.
Absolutely. So apply these things. I can't wait to hear how you do. So I hope you'll send us an email and let us know how these work for you. Thanks.